Hello everyone, Atkpwr here with another How to Play the Division series here with Panzer Lehr. If you guys enjoyed these, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and consider checking out the Patreon link down below to support the channel even more. Thanks a bunch, guys, and let's dive into this. So Panzer Lehr, it's a weird division. I'm not gonna lie, it's very unique in terms of tank divisions. There really is no German tank division like it. It's really like a C-tier division these days. There's not, unfortunately, the things that are unique about it are not, they aren't good enough. The unique things are not good enough to make up for the, oops, sorry about that, make up for the usual issues with a German Panzer division, right? So like the things that are cool don't make up for the general lackings of this division. The recon tab is phenomenal. One of the best recon tabs in the game. The infantry tab is subpar, but has one very unique feature I'm sure many of you know. The tank tab is fine. It's not incredible. Like, it is good. I mean, I shouldn't say it's better than fine. It's a good tank tab. But it's not anything out of the ballpark in terms of like a usual Panzer division. The support tab, solid, gets the job done. AT tab, solid. It has a lot of options that you don't particularly need because your tanks can do most of that anyway. Your AA tab is pretty good. Your RD tab is limited, but it does have some good tools here. And the air tab is pretty limited as well, although the tools you have are quite good. So let's dive in here. We do see I am building this Maverick. I can't find a way to realistically play this balanced in 1v1. Yes, it can have some depth, right? Like if you unvet these infantry, move this one to C, so then you end up with 24 here, and you know, you end up with 18 here. Well, then yeah, you probably have a healthy 70-ish infantry. We can even look here and do that really quick and see what happens if we do that. Yeah, you end up with a nice healthy-ish 70 infantry. It's not amazing, right? It's not like overwhelmingly large, but it would get the job done, right? You'd be able to do it. The tanks, of course, you have tanks for days. You don't really have the RD for that. Your Air Force dies pretty quick, and once the shock value and power of your recon tab kind of dies away, the division doesn't do anything spectacular. So diving in here though, so that's why we're going Maverick, because that's probably the best way. Vanguard would be okay too. Vanguard would also be another good price for this one. So what we're not taking, per usual here, well, no, let's start with what we're taking. SPW 234/1. This is an autocannon car, just like the 231. Very good. Now, the 234s are better because they have higher armor, so they do, like, actually survive with PTRSs and PTRDs. They don't die to those very often. Of course, unless they're getting hit in the side and stuff, then yeah, they're going to die to those. But head-on, PTRSs, PTRDs are going to struggle to kill these. Anti-tank rifles are going to struggle a lot more to drop this thing. Outside of the, you know, the higher things like the SHREKS have the whatever the, like, technically like HE rocket, the heat rocket thing is, and I think no, Latis are 30 mils. Solitherns, I think, go 40, so they might pen this at closer range pretty consistently. But overall, the extra armor is nice. Is it worth the extra points? Arguable, but it is nice. The Puma. This is probably one of the coolest things about the divisions. You have two cards of SPW 234/2s, also known as the Puma. This thing is fantastic. It's got a Panzer III gun on it. So the same gun as a Panzer III here. Nice 100 millimeters of penetration, 7 rounds a minute. HE gun does 0.94 damage. So that means it will generally kill a guy every time it fires, for the most part. Really fast, 85 kilometers an hour. Very easy to pick transports with this. Fires quickly. These are phenomenal. You'll see an A and a B card. Double vetting the B card. Truthfully, the Pumas, like all armor cars, lose a lot of their potency after A phase, right? They're still good in A phase. That's not to take, I mean, they're still good in B and C phase. That's not to take that away. But especially because we're playing a Maverick build and stuff, they lose their awesomeness later in the battle. Right? If I built this Maverick balanced and tried to, then yeah, I probably would unvet these. I'd probably have Pumas running all over the place, 8 of them. Yeah, it would be obnoxious, but it could be done. But they really are best at the beginning when you can get a lot of value out of transport killing and zipping around the enemy's lines and forcing them to react to these things can be really deadly. Then SDKZ 250/9 here. It's just an autocannon car. I am actually vetting it. I don't usually vet my autocannon vehicles, but the truth is I don't need more than 9 of these, plus the 6 we already have in A phase. It's 15 autocannon armor cars. If I'm not getting the job done with this many, then I'm probably not getting the job done. Notice I'm not vetting these because I would like to have 6 in A phase to work with, but the SDKZs, these also run out of ammo really fast, so they can be a little less effective due to that. They do not stick around. Like, obviously, once they run out of the autocannon shells, and they're kind of useless. So yeah. What we didn't take, BMW, always. Atkpwr, kind of upset not taking the Atkpwr. Let me double check, make sure I haven't missed something. No, if there was an SPW 222, I would definitely swap out the SDK of Z250 for that 222. But these units are all so good. And usually I say don't leave your infantry recon at home. I understand that. In this division, though, you're going to be pushing really hard. These guys will hopefully be all over the place, so you should have pretty consistent spotting ability on things. So, yeah. I mean, again, this is very, if you really, I don't even know how to take out. Like, I really want all the Pumas, but maybe you don't need a second card of Pumas. But then again, why are you playing this division, right? If you take out the second card of Pumas, why play this? Like, it's one of the fun things about this division. And then Panzer IVs, you don't need more Panzer IVs. The J is nice because, yeah, of course, it's got recon. I mean, that's really nice. But you don't need it. You have Panzer IVs otherwise. The Panther D, once again, it's really nice with recon. No, you don't need it, though. Right? It can function just fine unreconned. So that's why we're not taking it. We don't really have the space. I would take Atkpwr before I took, these tanks. Infantry tab. Unique, but not in a way that makes it really good. Right? It is really good at this one thing, and I'm sure we're all starting to notice. These are not normal Panzergrenadiers. These are Panzer Grenadiers with Panzer SHREK. And that is awesome. Don't get me wrong in my earlier comments. This is freaking sweet. This division, every freaking Panzer Grenadier walks around with a Panzer SHREK. It's so good. Like, it's awesome. And they technically cost normal. They cost 30 points. But the issue here, and this is where this division starts to rapidly fall off the tracks here, they only come in SDK of Zs. That's it. So you are forced to bring in the extra 5 points, right? So now you're spending 35 points on an infantry squad. The SDK of Z half tracks are really underwhelming. It's nothing like M2A1s or something where you're like, oh, this unit is the cheese monster. It's the best. It doesn't feel that way with an SDK of Z at all. It does not pin like that. It doesn't do any of those things like that. It's only 5 points, so obviously there's a price difference there. But yeah, it doesn't feel the same as when you play like Third Armored and it's like, oh, every infantry comes in a half track. That's a big yeah. This division, it doesn't feel that good. Everything just comes in really painfully slow. But we can see here taking all 4 cards of these Panzer Grens, 2 in A, 2 in B, 1 vetting all of those. Then we have both cards of Sturm Pioneer in A and B. These coming in the horses. Of course, that's really like the only fast thing we do. And then we have a card of Pioneers here in A to give us a little bit more CQC punch. It's kind of what you can do. I feel like having the 2 Sturm Pioneer cards is more important than having 2 Pioneer cards. Could you take out a Panzergren card for another card of Pioneers? Yeah, it's an option. But I get to a point when, especially with like Panzer divisions and like tank divisions and stuff, but not even allied tank divisions, because allied tank divisions don't actually suffer from this problem as much. It gets to a point with Axis tank divisions where you're not going to win CQC fights. Like, your standard German CQC infantry are not going to beat any sort of unique CQC infantry at all. They're just not. So why spend half of your cards trying to? It gets to that point, right? It's not that you have no CQC. It's just that, like, I feel like there's like a diminishing returns, right? Pioneers will always lose very clearly against any sort of flame unit, essentially. Like, they just won't win. And especially against good, like, super high level players, they'll just bounce out of your grenade range all the time, and the Pioneers become a step off of useless. So that's why I have it built this way. If you really want to, I would maybe, I don't even know, I'd probably take this card of Panzergrens out. You have 24 Panzergrens, but at 35 points a pop, you're not calling that many in, so probably that's what I would take out. Or you could take out one of the A phase card, but 24 Panzergrens is a lot. But on the flip side, then you don't have that much to go into C phase, and you still got to survive C phase for a little bit, right? You can't be like running out before the 30-minute mark. So maybe I would take one of these 6-man squads out instead if I really wanted more Pioneers, which I don't. So that's why they're not there. No infantry leader here. It's a obvious missing thing. I'd prefer to have more CQC. The tank tab actually provides you with a lot of leadership and one very cheap option, which can kind of replace these infantry if you hide it well. Hopping into that tank tab, we basically have a standard tank tab, right? We essentially have a standard Panzer tab here. There is one unique thing, and that's right here, the Panzer III-H you have. It's unfortunate this isn't a Panzer III, what is it? Does it have a letter? The normal Panzer III, Panzer III-L? Yeah, Panzer III-L, I think. With its long gun and stuff, like that one's really good. Panzer III-Ls are great. These Panzer III-Hs, are really underwhelming. It always looks like, oh, it's a nice 30-point light tank. This thing, you know, light tanks often really bat above their costs. Like, they get you so much value a lot of times. This one doesn't really. I've found this one very underwhelming. The problem is a lot of other light tanks, and light is in their cost, being 40 points or less, right? Those tanks can really trade up. Panzer 3L can really trade up. Terrans can really trade up. And again, I know these are not all classified as light tanks, but like point-wise, they cost the same as light tank. T-26 really trade up. You know, there's just a lot of other light tanks that trade really well. This one doesn't. This 70 millimeters of penetration. It has a slower rate of fire at only 7 rounds. I'm double vetting for that specific reason, to at least get them up to 10 rounds a minute. Their HE is not anything impressive, even though it's a short barrel. It feels like it should have better HE. It doesn't. Yeah, nothing about this unit is actually that phenomenal, other than the fact it's 30 points. So it's really disappointing. But this Panzer III leader, though, still being only 30 points, does allow you to get leadership into some tighter places, right? You just hide this behind a building, and it can give your town a lot of leadership, right? So I do think it's worth bringing this 30-point leader in to kind of replace not having any infantry leaders, especially in A. Then we have a Panzer III card, double vet. Panzer IV, excuse me. Panzer IV card, double vetted here, and we have a Panther A leader here in A. B phase, then we just add another double vet card of Panzer IVs and then a single vet card of Panther D leaders. Now the question ends up being Panther A's or Panther D's, right? So this is kind of the age-old question, which of these is better? So obviously for only 5 points, you get 10 more millimeters of armor and a faster turret turn speed. I know there's no way to actually know this. Thank you, Eugen. But I promise the Panther A turns its gun faster than the Panther D does. Okay, so these are the two main differences. At the end of the day, okay, I find that most units that can kill a Panther D can kill a Panther A at about the same level of consistency. Yes, the Panther A will bounce some more shots from time to time, especially at longer ranges with its extra 10 millimeters of armor. It will still go down at closer ranges to everything that can kill a Panther D. So so the question becomes, what's the benefit of a Panther D then, right? It has these two things. 5 points is not that much for 10 millimeters of extra armor and better turret speed. I agree. The issue is the availability curve, right? So we have Panther A's at 1 vet in B, you only get 2, while at 1 vet on Panther D's, leader or not, you get 4. And the truth is, that's a lot more card efficient in my opinion, and I do see me calling in potentially 4 Panther D's. I see me wanting more than 3 Panther A's in total. Like, I kind of want 5 Panthers to work with. That feels like a better number. Why am I leaving the Tiger at home? Because as we talked about many, many times, Tigers to me just always feel underwhelming. Every time I use Tigers, I'm a little bit unimpressed with a Tiger. I want it to be good so bad. I love the extra damage on the HE. I love its tanking. I love the fact it's a heavy tank, so it gets a little more health over the medium tank. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't brawl as well with other tanks. Its fire rate is too freaking slow. Please increase it, Eugen. I beg you. 1. Just put it up to 6 like every other freaking medium tank, heavy tank in the game, essentially. Okay? It is so annoying. But anyways, yeah. So that's why. That is why the tank tab is built the way it is built. But of course, if you love Tigers and you want way more Panthers, load it up. Right? Just stack it up high. You got plenty more Panzer IVs as well. You could definitely swap out the Panzer III for the Panzer IV, but I do like having the light armor around to counter armor cars and things like that. Like these things do okay against armor cars and stuff. They don't expect these to brawl up to tanks. They really don't do it very well. Support tab, you get a lovely suite of options here. It's not a very big support tab though, so you get all these great options and not much room to use them. Flammenwerfer, of course, MG42 in the horse for speed. Then we have the Grille. Grille is a Grille. It's great. 2K HE, slaps hard. Bringing in some ammo for them good old mortars and such in the whatever tab, the arty tab. Don't need these guys. You have no one that's even disheartened. I don't understand why this unit's even included here. You have no disheartened unit in your deck. So I'm not sure why you would ever even touch this unit. Flampanzer 251/16. I mean, these are nice. Honestly, they're not that bad. If this was a big support tab, like if I had 8 slots to choose from and half of them were 1s and 2s, I would 100% put this unit in. But there's no space. Yeah, it just kind of is what it is. Borgward! The Borgward. For those who have never used this unit, it is a remote-controlled explosive. You drive your little stupid half tank here up to anything, you see this little ring around it, and when you click explode, when you press detonate, I think it is, or self blow up, or I forget what it is, self destruct, it just basically eviscerates everything within that circle. Even if this thing dies, it still blows up. I discovered this in a game I just casted. Even if this thing dies, it still goes really big. So if it's close to a target and blows up, it will actually still hurt units around it. Usually speaking, this thing can basically level anything. Although it's definitely still not an insta-kill, I don't believe. It's not like it actually insta-kills everything. I did use it in a game where it did wipe out like every tank and thing around it, but I cannot promise you it's an instant like nuke device that destroys it. And the circle is not very big. So you are using this basically in a town. Like if you can sneak it into a town and then like wipe out a chunk of a little chunk of the town, that is the way to use them. Or sort of yellow forest, but it's got to be a lot of yellow forest. Like you're gonna need a lot of yellow forest. But yeah, otherwise unit is kind of useless. As fun as it could be, it is kind of useless. IG-18s, I would love to have them. No space. Love to have my IG-18s. I just couldn't find space. MG-42s ammo, you don't need the commander here, I don't think. The division's gonna be very aggressive, so I don't think a commander is gonna be the name of the game. If I did take a commander, I would take the Panther in this division. So if I was going to take a commander, I would 100% take the Panther commander here. So if you really want a commander, this is what I would slot in. Anti-tank tab. Lots of great options, honestly. But you just don't need many of them. Like you really don't. Here I'm taking a Pack 40. Just because I feel something feels wrong about having no static AT. Having no manned AT guns feels wrong to me. I have a really hard time not taking any at all. But then the other two cards are Jagdpanzer IVs. Jagdpanzer IVs are phenomenal. If you come up against any allied division, this thing absolutely farts all over them. Shermans, T-34-76s, even like Churchills and stuff have a really hard time with this. I'm trying to just like almost every allied unit, even T-34-85s at long ranges really struggle to kill this unit. Even other Axis divisions, while it's not as deadly, still this is a very effective weapon because, you know, Stugs and Panzer IVs, Pen 135, this is 130 millimeters of armor. If you sit at long range, it's a very hard penetration for them. So this unit, in my opinion, is one of the best-ish units in the game, honestly, just for its cost, its armor, its gun, all that kind of stuff. I think this, if this unit is available, I'm taking it. So we have A and B phase here. I don't think you need Stugs, especially the F variant with the low HE rounds. It runs out right away. Martyr 3s are kind of redundant here as well. You have plenty of AT all around, though Martyr 3s are great. Don't get me wrong. That is not a hate on the Martyr 3. This unit is phenomenal. Trades up really well, but I would prefer to have Jagdpanzer IVs because of their almost indomitability in some matchups. Panzer SHREKS, completely redundant since your entire infantry tab is full of Panzer SHREKS. So why waste a slot on a Panzer SHREK? Yes, Panzer SHREKS sneak, and that is a big deal. I'm not saying that's not, but the fact is you have a limited number of tabs here, and it's just not worth spending those points on that. Anti-air, you get some good options here. 20 mils, gross, go get out of my life. Then we have 88s, lots of 88s. Just bring in the one card, though, and B. You don't need 2K stuff, honestly. This is kind of just the fact that these are all 1-point slots, and to make the division fill out, you fill up the 1-point slots. Like, you can't just take one card of AA. So you need at least two, and by taking two, you kind of throw off the whole pointage system, so, you know, the way the deck balances itself out. So you end up needing to take this extra thing. So I'm taking the Verbal, and we have the SDK of Z in A phase and the Verbal in B. You can only bring it in B with one vet. I wish they didn't vet lock this thing. It's already got low enough availability. I mean, it's the exact same weapon. Like, these two units are the exact same thing. But the Verbal, of course, has armor, A, and B has veterancy. So, you know, and there's no way we're gonna vet this SDK at 7-1 in A phase. So yeah, I would prefer to have 3 good AA pieces and not take these 20 mils and have the 88s for backup AA. As in, I put it out for AT and they happen to shoot some planes. RD tab, tons of options here. I mean, it's just a great little pile of options. You just have no space for it. And I don't know why they've decided Panzer Lehr is a division that's not allowed to function. Like, the tab setup, it sucks so hard. Like, it's so small. It just feels really tight on every single tab. Like, all these 3-4 costed slots, like, why you gotta be like that, bro? Like, even, like, the tank tab itself doesn't even go out, like, and you're starting to hit 3s really early. This is one of those divisions I feel like Eugen should, like, look back over and just be like, maybe, you know, like, knock this down to a 2-point slot. You know, knock this down to a 2-point slot, make this 3, something like that. Add a whole nother slot here or something. You know, it doesn't. I don't feel like it needs to be this restrictive. The division is not that strong. But anyway, what we're taking here, 81 mortar, can never really go wrong with this thing. It's great. And then of course we're taking the Nebelwerfer 42 with its 300 millimeter missiles. It's a lovely, lovely destructo weapon. It's quite fun to use. Bringing in the ammo for it, although we do have the ammo in the support tab that could probably do it, but I just feel wrong not having any ammo at all. 81 mortar, don't need it because we have the mortar. These 105s are terrible. The Vespa is not good. This is the same as this thing with wheels. It's just sad. It almost makes it worse. It doesn't, but it almost feels worse. It really does. 120 mil mortar doesn't stack up well to the 81. This 81 mil mortar is actually really quite good. It's 15 point less. The problem is you get 15 less shells, which means you get 3 less barrages, which does matter. Like, if you're not bringing ammo in until B phase, it does matter that you don't run out of ammo on this thing that quickly. So that's the reason. Although, I wouldn't knock anyone for putting these dudes in instead. Like, so taking these guys and moving your ammo to A phase just so you have ammo for this right away. There is a chance if you are a really aggressive mortarer, though, you might run out of ammo. Maybe. But anyway... Then you have the 152. This 152 is not great. It's got a good long tube, so pretty good dispersion. You know, that's the ring, the actual accuracy. Remember, accuracy is a lie on artillery. That's not the accuracy. This is not the accuracy. Okay, this is not. Stop. Don't go into comments and say this is the accuracy. You're wrong and you're embarrassing yourself. Okay, the dispersion, the actual like RD dispersion is all based on apparently the length of the and diameter and stuff of the tube itself. So yeah, for some reason, no connection to the accuracy stat. The problem is it's only 3 rounds a minute. It's really not a very good gun. It is only 110 points, which is 10 points less than a lot of other guns of this caliber. So that's nice, but not game-breaking anyway. And then you have the Hummel here. Hummels are meh. They're very meh. They're the same gun as the FH18 normally is. I just feel like they underperform the normal gun. I can't figure out why. Something about these things just never clicks for me. So that's why we're not bringing it. And truthfully, the Nebelwerfer 300 mil can like wipe out any RD piece in the game pretty successfully if you really need it. But again, it's just so slot restrictive. Now, do we need the battery fear? Maybe not. Maybe we take this out, put in the Hummels here for some RD party fun. That's an option. But I would say that's your prerogative. I like having still the infantry leaders to fight in forests, right? You can't get leadership in the woods otherwise, and that's kind of a big issue. Air tab. It's basically Focke-Wulf spam. You have Focke-Wulfs, and then you have more of them. That's all. You got some recon ones here. I wouldn't really say you need those per se. You have the Focke-Wulf G8. This one is good. The availability is solid, and that's why I'm taking it in B phase. I'm not bringing it in A. I don't think I need it there. Probably won't have the points to bring it, especially because I'm going to probably be trying to bring like a Panther in A phase. Remember, your infantry is very expensive, so your infantry is really sucking up a lot of points. You're calling mortars for support. Like, you need combined arms in this division. You're using a lot of armored cars. Those are not cheap. So I don't really think I have points in A phase for this. B phase, let's get going. Focke-Wulf 190 A8, one of the best fighters in the game. Certainly not the best, but one of the best. Very good. One vetting it here so it can strafe a little harder. Can get through AA and maybe get that strafe in. Definitely worth it. I don't think you need 3 of these anyway. The one we're leaving at home here is the Focke-Wulf 190 A8 R6. This one's okay. The rocket loadout is weak. If it had 4 rockets, I would 100% consider this thing. But it's also 140 points. The 2 rockets are not consistent at killing enemy targets. They're just not. They don't consistently kill things. Some games, they look awesome. In other games, it's very underwhelming. So that's why the G8 is a lot more consistent with its 5 bombs here, split between the 50s and the 250s. So it's just a little bit more consistent, in my opinion. Panzer Lehr. Not a great division. Unique in its own way and fun. If you're into this sort of like Panzer SHREKS and armored car spam and that kind of thing, then yes, very fun that way. And again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not a really good division. Almost any there's so many divisions that do what this does very similarly, just better. The first that comes to mind is 11th SS. Like right off the bat, is a division that I think does a lot of what this division does, just does it better. Has better options overall. So, you know, again, fun division, but really tough with this sort of like crimped transport issue and The slot cost being very restrictive, your Air Force being nothing amazing, your RD tab really crimped bad, and having, of course, a lack of CQC as many Panzer divisions do. But if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and consider checking out that Patreon link down below. Thanks a bunch, guys. Oh, and make sure to check out the new website. It should be linked down below, or if it's not, it will be soon. Thanks a bunch, guys, and have a fantastic day.